What's up, guys? Derek here from the Scroll Effect. We are back with Everlasting Summer. We're going to the library. Let's go. If every other place on the cake ingredient list made at least some sense to me, then flour from the library made none. I thought hard about who would have it in the library and why, but couldn't find any sane explanation after all. Given Xenia's harsh nature, I'd better knock first. Knock, knock. Open. Xenia peered at me closely from behind her glasses. What do you want? Don't think anything weird, but I didn't want to look like an idiot and decided to explain things carefully. I need some flour. Olga said that it's here. I understand that it sounds strange to keep the flour in the library, but I was sent to you, and it's needed for a cake to celebrate Shurik's rescue. Yes, I have the flour. What's so strange about it? Xenia replied with surprise. That second, I felt like I'd been hit on the head with a heavy weight and lost the ability to understand anything at all. Flower in the library. Sure, what's so strange about it? We're in Wonderland. I'm Alice. Now I'm gonna eat that magic mushroom and I'll be back home. Hey. Yeah? I was daydreaming. Wait here, I'll be right back. She disappeared behind the bookshelves while I folded my hands and started waiting. A moment later, the sound of a trapdoor groaning on its hinges reached me. Hey, you need some help? I inquired loudly. I'll deal with it, Xenia barked out to me. She seemed to be in the basement, so I'll have to wait a little. Okie dokie. A few minutes passed, but Xenia still hadn't returned. I was starting to get worried when the door was suddenly flung open and Alyssa came into the library. She looked surprised too, seeing me here. What are you doing here? Am I not allowed to be here? I said rudely to her. Alyssa was clearly a bit overwhelmed. What do I care? She snorted and headed to Xenia's table. And why are you here then? Alyssa measured me with her eyes carefully and almost opened her mouth to say something, but then seemed to change her mind and turned away, hiding her hands behind her back. Returning a book? I blurted the first thing off the top of my head. It's none of your business, she replied with a hint of hesitation. What book is it? Alyssa was silent. Oh, come on, let me see it. I wonder what this high voltage keep away reads. It's none of your business. Her voice was even less confident. Okay, I don't insist or anything. In fact, I was quite interested in finding out what Alyssa was reading. Moreover, I was quite amused to see a book in her hands. TV, movies, or a computer, if one were available here. All these things seemed to be much more appropriate entertainment for a girl like her. But she had a book instead. Let's get playful. My curiosity won. I struck at the right moment when Alyssa was looking away from me and snatched the book. Ouch! She screamed. In the following second, her face took on such an expression that it made me question my decision. If I'm about to die, at least I will know what for. I held a copy of Gone with the Wind in my hands. That was the same book Lena was reading that evening on a bench. I was so astonished that I completely forgot about my imminent death. Is it interesting? Yeah, Alyssa answered without enthusiasm, blushing. Okay then. I handed the book back to her. Alyssa threw it on the table and left the library quickly without looking at me. So human things aren't alien to her. In the end, she too is a girl. After a quick review of everything that just happened, I concluded that there was actually nothing that strange. Finally, Xenia's deep groan rang out, reaching each and every corner of the library. Grab it! I passed by the bookshelves and beheld the perspiring librarian sitting near the trapdoor leading into the basement with a small sack next to her. Well, they might have some sort of a storehouse down there. Thanks. I took the sack and left the library. Thank goodness it wasn't too heavy, so I carried it down to Olga's cabin without too much effort. Finally, it seemed that everything had been collected. I took the handcart with sugar outside and put the sack with the flour in it, followed by the 2 baskets of strawberries that somehow fit in between. And the beer was hidden under my shirt, just in case. The day was coming to its end, so I had to hurry, as cake itself will need some time to bake. Of course, I'd rather enjoy lying. Yeah, I'd rather enjoy lying down, closing my eyes and getting a decent sleep. But I couldn't just let Olga down. Indeed, after all the trouble I'd gone to, I even felt personally responsible for the success of this event. Coming to the square, I stopped for a moment to catch my breath. It wasn't that the cart was heavy. It ran smoothly without any noticeable effort required. It was just that any physical exertion caused pain to me now, both a physical and mental one. I sat down on the bench and closed my eyes for a moment. What's that? I didn't really give a damn who it was. Probably just a fellow pioneer girl taking an interest in an unfamiliar companion in distress. What are you talking about? I asked her tiredly. She didn't reply. Those are the ingredients for a cake. Do you like cakes? I don't know. What, you've never tried cake? I don't know. Obviously the girl didn't get what I was talking about, but it didn't surprise me at that moment. I really wasn't interested in the conversation. I was so tired that I had zero intention of classifying external distractions and tagging them as either common or uncommon. I see. Come down to the canteen later and have a bite. Really? Really. What are they made of? What? I asked indifferently. These cakes. Well, some flour, some sugar, various fillings. Yeah, that's a strange question. Doesn't she know what cakes are made of? And you have it all there. And you have it all here? Yeah, sort of. And sugar? And sugar. Could you lend me a little? What for? Thought it was over the top. Who is it? A sudden gust of wind made me grab the card instinctively and open my eyes. However, nobody was there. Am I daydreaming? I noticed that the sugar sack was untied and a small heap had been poured out. Could it be that she was scared by the wind and ran away? Having fixed the sack, I got up from the bench and continued on my challenging strawberry way. Well, that's strange. I'm wondering if if it was just a dream or maybe like Shuriken Electronics robot thing, since we don't know who it was, you know. There wasn't a single person near the canteen. No wonder, dinner was still an hour away. I brought the handcart to the rear exit and handed the foodstuffs to the camp cook. She must have already been told what to do with them, as she gave me such an unpleasant look. I'm not sure how long it takes to bake a cake, but it seems she had to hurry. I just wanted to relax for the remaining time up until dinner. In short, I was so tired that I just sat on the steps and waited. My eyes closed themselves. I guess I got so tired throughout the day that I didn't notice how someone came up to me until they patted me on the shoulder. Hi! Miku was standing before me. Yeah, I didn't need a mirror to imagine the expression of skepticism and annoyance on my face. Oh, excuse me, I must have interrupted you. No problem, I was just sitting here. Ah, alright then. Miku beamed with a smile. I was just coming to dinner. I thought that it's time already, and then it appeared to me that it's too early, but I decided to check just in case. Maybe it's not me who's mistaken, but the clock is. Well, not the clock. Clocks can't be mistaken. It's just that I misread it. She seemed to be ultimately confused now. I fell silent. It's still about half an hour before dinner. Oh, that's great. Then I'll sit here and wait with you if you don't mind. Frankly speaking, I do mind. You know, I have some matters to attend to. I stood up quickly and left without saying goodbye, ignoring Miku as I always did, while she screamed something after me. A minute later, I got to the square and sat on the bench with firm intention of finding a quiet and safe place to wait for dinner. I think this is the first time in the last 4.5 days that when I've felt like this. I wasn't just irritated because of some insignificant details, but indeed, I was really angry. I've completely stopped caring about where I am and why I'm here. I don't care about how to get out either. What's driving me mad is that I always have to carry out some stupid task given by our camp leader, and it's always me who has to get into stupid situations, and sometimes even ends up looking like a clown. If all of this is some alien trick or a plot of a universal mind, then they better consult with their psychiatrist. I gritted my teeth and clenched my fists. The most annoying thing is everything that happens seems to happen by itself somehow. I'd be happier not having to carry around bags of sugar that weighed a ton, but I had no choice at all. I mean, any other option would lead to much worse consequences than a muscle strain or hurt pride. Who are you angry with? Ilyana was standing in front of me and smiled slyly. Nobody, really, I answered absently, but my fists gave me away. Just like that. Okay, it's up to you. You better tell me, why did you run around the camp the whole day with some kinds of bags? I had to, I replied reluctantly. I guess it was food. Maybe it was. Ilyana was about to say something, but at that moment, the bell rang, calling the pioneers for dinner. I sighed in relief and quickly headed to the canteen, leaving Ilyana behind. Man, we just don't want to talk to anybody, do we? Semyon, thank you very much. For what? The camp leader gave me a friendly smile. For the cake, of course. Ah, sure. It was at that exact moment that I understood the true meaning of the saying, keep your thanks to feed your cat. You didn't tell anybody? This ought to be a surprise. Yeah, that's my boy. And now, off you go to dinner. Olga waved her hand, pointing at the canteen. I stepped through the doorway slowly and started to look for a free place. Turned out there was plenty today, so I got the chance to eat all alone. There's fish with mashed potatoes for dinner. What misfortune once again. I'll be left half hungry. And didn't we have fish for lunch? Is it a fish-only day today? Having pushed my plate with the fried sea dweller away, I laid my head on my hands and closed my eyes. But soon somebody came up to the table. Hey, are you alright? I'm fine, I replied without changing my position. Just tired? Yeah, a little. That's bad. Slavia said it seriously. Of course. You remember that we were going for a hike after dinner, don't you? Have you prepared everything? What? What? Where? I opened my eyes and lifted my head up instantly. Lena was standing by Slavia. The hike. She was surprised. Didn't you know? No. Ah, crap. We're too tired to go on a hike. I put my head down on the table and covered it with my hands. If only I could sink into the ground right away. The girls remained silent. I was left alone with my thoughts for some time, and that was fine by me. Maybe I could have sat that way until the end of the dinner time, but the strong voice of Olga was heard from the opposite end of the canteen. Guys, to celebrate the miraculous rescue of our friend and comrade Shirk, we baked this cake for you all. I lifted my head idly and looked toward the camp leader, but couldn't see anything beyond the pioneers' backs. A second, just a second. Nothing about me. Nothing about my rescuing Shirk or gathering the ingredients for the cake. As if that's how it ought to be. Well, it would be the wrong to expect anything else from our camp leader. Let's go. We won't get our share. Slavia smiled. Let's go. Lena agreed. Yeah, sure. I got up reluctantly and tagged along. As we approached the crowd of pioneers, Olga was just putting the cake in the center of the table. And now, the camp leader wasn't able to finish as Ilyana rushed out from the pioneer crowd and dived into the cake. She managed to nibble it a few times before she was pulled away. She was kicking and screaming. I stared blankly from the outside at this drama. Alyssa smiling. Lena picked up some cream with her finger. All the furious pioneers around. I felt completely out of place here. I thought that if I closed my eyes and opened them, here I am back in the safety of my apartment in front of a computer. Nope. I blinked, but nothing changed. Only the noise and confusion became sharper. Ilyana, that's the limit. Well, in fact, behaving like that is a bit over the top even for her. Shurek broke into the conversation, or is it a court-martial? Please, Olga, since the cake is celebrating my return, it's no big deal. He hesitated. It doesn't matter. The camp leader turned to Ilyana. And you. Today I'm gonna punish you to the fullest extent so you'll outbehave next time. Whatever. She snorted and turned back. You won't be going to the hike with us tonight. As if I wanted to. I was more than willing to switch places with Ilyana and skip the hike instead of her, but who knew? If I had guessed beforehand, I have been the first one to go berserk and smash the damn cake. After a couple of minutes of confusion, the pioneers started to disperse. You have to get ready, too. There'll be a lineup at the square in half an hour. I looked straight into the eyes of the camp leader, trying to express my attitude non-verbally, but it seems that I failed. Don't be late. Olyana was sitting at the table when I approached her on my way to the exit. So why did you do it? She looked very upset, but she had the right to be so. I wanted to. Why'd you eat the cake? I wanted to. Olyana replied abruptly. So you're happy now? Of course I am. And you, good luck with the hiking. She smiled mischievously, sprang up and rushed out of the canteen. Well, a little bit of luck wouldn't hurt. Walk and you shall reach was exactly this proverb that kept whirling in my head all the way down to the camp leader's cabin. Somehow, I just couldn't manage to argue, to pretend that I'm sick or just to skip it without a reason. The events of this day taught me submissiveness, although sometimes whatever was happening made no sense to me. As I walked in, I had a thought. Well, in fact, how should I get ready? Clothes? I only have an overcoat and a pair of jeans. Anyway, I forgot to ask whether it's going to be an overnight hike or not. I couldn't think of anything better, so I grabbed the sweater that I had when I arrived on the camp. The night might be fairly chilly, and shuffled slowly off to the square. All the camp was already there, although it was about 10 minutes before the time Olga had designated. I settled down near the edge and waited patiently. Night was falling. If I viewed from the outside, what a fairly comical picture we would make. A crowd of pioneers lined up out of sheer habit, like they were awaiting a silent command from Bronze Genta. And all this happening in the scarlet rays of sunset. And there he is, waving his hand, screaming, "Attack!" as roaring soldiers with red neckerchiefs charged into battle against his ghostly enemy. But Olga showed up and started to talk instead of Genta. It seems everybody is here. Great. I was so tired that I couldn't even think about anything, so I ended up just listening to the camp leader. Now, today we'll go hiking. It is essential for every pioneer to be able to come and rescue his comrade, to offer a helping hand in the hour of need, saving them from a hopeless situation. We have to learn to do all these things together. A whisper that ran through the pioneer crowd suggested that most probably this truly epic expedition would end in a clearing in the forest, several hundred feet away from the square. Somehow, I thought so too. We'll walk in pairs. If you haven't chosen a partner for yourself yet, now is the right time to do so. Pioneers quickly caught on to the idea and started to match in pairs. Looks like I was the only one without a partner. Slavia was enthusiastically discussing something with Olga. Lena was with Miku. Electronic was, of course, with Shurik. Well, it might not be a bad idea to go alone after all. Semyon, the voice of the camp leader, pulled me out of my thoughts. I went up to her reluctantly. I see that you haven't found a partner. Seems like it. Then you'll join Xenia. She is alone too. I was struck with that special kind of despair that only a true loner can experience. So it appears that I'm left with the prickly librarian that wouldn't risk spending a couple of hours even if I was paid for it. Although we both seem to be in the same boat now. I slowly approached Xenia. Well, I guess we'll be going together. She looked up at me. Don't you even think that I'm glad, said Xenia seriously. Why on earth should I feel glad? I asked naively. Never mind. It'd be much better if you just shut up. Couldn't get any better than this. She turned her back to me and followed the other pioneers. I still haven't seen any special reason to walk in pairs. Anyway, we're walking on the well-trodden forest trails, and it would be quite difficult to get lost here, even if I wanted to. Moreover, well, we'd already been hiking for an hour and a half. We weren't rushing into the depths of the forest trying to face all the dangers that could test our courage and harden our pioneer spirits. But instead, we were just walking around in circles. However, if we take into account that Olga was our chief, this hike could be compared to a hobbit's march from the Shire to Mordor. Ah, the references. Just as Xenia insisted, I was following her at a distance in silence. The librarian seemed to be perfectly okay with it. Hey, don't you know when we'll reach our destination? Our what? Ahem. We place the place where we'll settle down and set up camp. The whole point of this hike isn't to set up camp, but the hiking itself. You don't get it. Yeah, it seemed that I didn't understand a thing about hiking. I guess you're right, but still, I don't know. She replied, sharply quickened her pace. I caught up with her and asked, "Listen, why are you always so—" I was about to say mean, but stopped short. "I haven't done anything bad to you, and I'm not going to." She glared at me with surprise. "Always so what?" "Well, unsociable, kind of, or is it something about me?" "Oh, cut that stupidity out already." "As you wish." I decided not to start a conversation with her for the rest of the hike. Yeah, that jerk. At last, Olga decided to end this Sisyphean toil. What? It's time to halt. The place chosen turned out to be quite a large glade, with a few tree trunks laid in half circle to make an improvised arbor, with the remains of a campfire in the middle. Obviously, such hikes are a tradition of this camp. I was sent to gather firewood together with the other boys. It didn't take long because there were a lot of branches and logs of various sizes laying around. Eventually, Olga lit the fire using some old newspapers. I was eager to know what was written, but couldn't discern anything other than Soviet symbols. Pioneers took their place on the fallen log benches and started to talk about things. It seemed that the final goal of this event had been achieved. The only thing missing was a pot of fish soup, aluminum cups of vodka, and a guitar. But no one would be surprised if all these would appear somehow. "What are you thinking about?" Slavia sat next to me. "Oh, nothing special. Just enjoying the hike," I answered sarcastically. "You don't look too happy." "Well, I'm not about to jump for joy. Sorry about that." "Okay, I won't disturb you." She sat with me for a while, but after realizing that I wasn't in the mood of talking, she left me to enjoy my introspection all alone. and all I wished for was to lie down in the bed and fall asleep as soon as possible. But I was being surrounded by smoke and the useless chatter of pioneers around me instead. They were cheering and laughing, and in general enjoying the warm summer evening. In the far side of the glade, I noticed that Lena was arguing with Alyssa intensely, and Lena seemed like intensely and Lena seemed like complete opposites to me. Slavia had to go somewhere after a conversation, it seems. Electronic and Shirk were trying furiously to prove somehow to Olga. Wait, what? They're trying fiercely to prove something to Olga. Looks like I'm the only one who doesn't belong here. Let's go check out what Lena's talking about, because that seems a little odd for her. But on the other hand, why should I care? All I was doing was just watching the fire. There's a saying that claims that one could watch it forever as well as running water, but there was also some third thing there. What was it? One could watch three things forever: burning fire, running water, and how other people work. The camp leader pulled me out of my daydream. "Semyon, don't you think that it's too early to relax?" What else would I need to do? I honestly couldn't get what Olga wanted from me. I don't know. She stopped for a moment. If there's something to be done, then do it without hesitation. She smiled ambiguously and went back to the fire to throw a few branches on. After those words, I'm completely sure that she treats me like a personal slave. Or at least like I'm a free labor force, which is, strictly speaking, the same thing. I sighed and put my head down in my hands, hoping the torments would be over for today. Someone patted me on the shoulder. Wait, did we select the wrong thing? I'm confused. Huh. I guess, we're not gonna go see what they're arguing about. I looked up and saw Shirk and Electronic, who sat next to me. "What do you want?" I asked tiredly. "Don't be sad. Is there anything better to do?" "Look, we've been discussing the possibilities for the advancement of the Cybernetics Club with Olga. And there's a problem. We need more guys. If you could," he hesitated, "advancement? Those guys are incompatible with each other." I said nothing and started to look over the pioneers around me instead. "Well?" I don't have time. Can't you see that I'm always busy with the camp leader's errands? Yeah, I guess you're right. It's kind of embarrassing how it all went today with Ilyana. I looked at him with surprise. It seems that Shirk blames himself for that cake accident. Yeah, it is. All the pioneers seem to be out here, but I couldn't spot Slavia anywhere. I think she's angry with me. Who? I asked absently. Ilyana. Maybe I should apologize? No, it's not your fault. We sat silently for a while, then stood up and said, my legs are numb. I better take a walk. They made no reply. A few circles around our improvised camp, noticing the close looks back to the camp leader following me. Looks like Olga couldn't wait to come up with some kind of new task for me. I haven't found Slavia anywhere. Maybe I should go and try and find her? On the other hand, I felt sorry for Ilyana every time I recalled her upset face. Maybe this hike isn't the most entertaining thing, but sitting there all alone isn't any better either. But at the same time, I don't want to go anywhere. I feel like our last option didn't really make any sense. I kinda wanna scroll back up and see if I pick the other one, if it will, like, you know, put me there at the right place. So it's the same either way? That's kinda... I don't know. I don't really like that. Whatever. Try to find Slavia, Ilyana. I kinda feel bad for Ilyana. And Slavia just disappeared. I don't know. Ilyana, on the other hand, why should I care about that witch? I guess it's enough for me today. I sat in my previous place and waited for the end of the hike patiently, almost physically able to feel the looks the camp leader aimed at me. At last, she stood up and declared, and now let's play cities. I'm so confused. None of my options are like doing what I... Dude. No. I want to do stuff. Wow, okay, I just can't pick anything today. That's... Oh, my choices! No! It was obviously that the hike will take longer because of it. Pioneers sat around the fire. I noticed that Lena and Alyssa, who took their places on a trunk opposite of me, seeing that everything is alright. Just a few minutes ago, I thought the opposite while looking at their quarrel, but anything is possible. I'd really like to know what they were talking about, but it's impossible now that I could feel tiredness growing in me more and more. My mind was a complete blank. To be precise, my head was so heavy that there was no place in it for ideas to unfold. While in my better times, my brain appeared to be a wide highway with the millions of thoughts running by, chasing one another, causing major crashes, and it was more like a footpath lost in the woods, which is used rarely and only in exceptional cases. Slavia didn't come back. Maybe she had something to do? But once again, there's no way to find out now. Okay, let's start. Moscow. Pioneer started to name cities. Finally, it was my turn. I tried to listen carefully to catch the first letter of the city you'll have to use. Arkhangelsk? I don't know. We played several rounds. Each new city name made it harder to remember everything that was mentioned before. My attention was dissipating. I was already lost in all these capitals, megalopolises, villages, and urban settlements. Semyon, it's your turn. Olga brought me back to reality. Excuse me. And what was the last one? You're daydreaming again. It was Sevastopol. Okay, then I'll say London. Already used. Well, then, got me thinking. There were tons of cities in the world starting with L. It was hard to remember. Even one of them now. Liverpool? Already there. Los Angeles? Ah, finally. She gave me a scornful look, but the game went on. I could hardly bear to think of another city starting with L, but fortunately it was the last round. That's enough for today. It's already late. Time to get back. I sighed with relief. On our way back, we walked as we liked without joining in pairs. Alright, we'll be headed back to the camp in the next episode. Bye!